Hello, and welcome to today's episode of the Elite Health and Wellness Show. My name's Clay, co-owner of Elite Health Online, and today we have a special guest, Dean Rossen. The Elite Health and Wellness Show focuses on all aspects of wellness, from nutrition to exercise to medications such as hormone replacement therapy, weight loss, wellness, and anti-aging. So again, today's special guest is Dean Rossen. Dean, welcome.
Well, thank you, Clay. It is great to be here. I've been looking forward to speaking with you.
Excellent. So I had the opportunity to meet Dean through a CEO advisory board that I'm part of, and Dean is a speaker that goes around the country speaking to executives about health and wellness and really how to be the very best version of themselves, both physically, mentally, and spiritually. And Dean, tell us a little bit more about, I know you probably spend about 60 days a year on the road talking to executives, helping them, again, be the best version of themselves. But go a little bit more into detail into your background. I know you've had some experience with bodybuilding competitions. You've been in some films where you're an extra. I know you've been on the Montel Williams show. You've been on numerous podcasts, but give the audience a little more background into what your day-to-day looks like and your experience in the health and nutrition area.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, here I believe this right here, the bit of information I'm about to share, actually makes it even more compelling. And here's what it is. I am formerly obese. In other words, I was born a fat person and raised in an overweight, unhealthy family, but I am 100% Italian, so I know that sounds a little redundant, overweight and Italian. However, when I was growing up, I believed, as everybody in my family believed, that we had bad genetics. We believed that we were just genetically overweight, or what we referred to ourselves as big boned people.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until I was even in my 30s did I even realize that it had nothing to do with my genetics. It actually had to do everything how I looked, how I felt, the inflammation in my joints, even the condition of my skin, everything. My sleep habits, my inability to recover after an exercise workout or of any kind, whether it be cardio or weight training, all of that was short circuited based on two things: diet and lifestyle, and mostly nutrition. My lack of nutrition contributed entirely to my condition. So, in other words, I basically followed the FDA guidelines, and that was to eat a low fat diet. As long as what I was eating was low fat, I was okay. Well, so I thought. And that's why I thought I had bad genetics, because I was doing everything that my doctor prescribed, the FDA food pyramid told me to do, which is what? It was eat 6 to 11 servings of high glycemic, starchy carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
6 to 11 servings every day. So I did that. And then I kept getting bigger and bigger. I was very much overweight. As a matter of fact, I was over 36% of my weight was body fat. I was 36% body fat. And it wasn't until I was 33 years old that I discovered the consequences of carbohydrates. And I was already an exercise. I mean, I was exercising since I was about 13 or 14. And here I am, 33, and we started having children. And I realized I looked very much like my baby son, who was very overweight and round as a baby should be. But I'm an adult and I looked very much like him. So what I was saying was, I realized that I needed to limit. This is a key for everybody who's listening: limit or eliminate starchy carbs. And I just started with limiting, and I ended up losing about 20 pounds in 2 months, which nobody in my family has ever lost weight. We've either gained weight or maintained, but nobody's ever lost weight. So when I did that, of course, they didn't celebrate and think, wow, you've really dialed in and calibrated our genetics.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody said, you look terrible. You look sick. Is everything okay? And when they found out I was doing this on purpose, they actually felt threatened and were concerned even more so. And to this day, like, I'm going back to Ohio for a wedding, and to this day, my mother would say this: Dean, you look terrible. You look
Mm-hmm.
all sunken in. You look hungry. Is what's her name not feeding you? I said, Ma, her name's Angela. We're doing just fine. And Angela's standing right next to me, and she says, Ma, I hear you. And so basically, she to this day she says, I liked you better when you had a full face. You looked
Mm-hmm.
healthy. their definition of health was completely different. So all that to say, I lost all this weight and I understood true performance nutrition, recovery. Sugar is an enemy. And we could talk about that, Clay, if you choose. And then by the time I was 40 years old, I had entered 2 bodybuilding competitions. I was lean. I was a lot smaller than I thought. I thought underneath all my body fat, I was going to have more muscle. And then by my second competition, I just packed on more mass and I
Right.
came in even better, leaner, more muscular, and did very well. It was the Northern USA bodybuilding competition. My wife actually entered as well. She entered the fitness and figure. She came in third place. She is a rock star, and her story is amazing too. And if there was time, we can go into that, or
Sure.
maybe even another
Sure.
time.
Yeah, great introduction, Dean, and you've definitely accomplished a lot. Go back a little bit to, again, traveling around the country speaking. How did you end up deciding to speak to executives, CEOs, COOs, people that are high performance, not only wanting to be physically in great shape now that they've accomplished a certain amount of success in their career, but they also need the mental aspect. How did you end up down that road, and what is your why focusing on that particular group?
My goal was always to influence those who have influence. In other words, these are the people who literally lead by example in everything they do. And
Hmm.
I always had my sights set on how do I help those people to help more individuals. That was just where my heart was at because I just love people, but I also want to help and be help them to be the best version of themselves, as you had said. So when I moved to Atlanta, I actually was helping an executive, and he said, and he lost all this weight, and he said, you've got to share this with other executives, and I
Hmm.
totally agreed. And so he then introduced me to Vistage, which is one of the largest executive committee organizations. And since then, I've spoken to literally thousands of executive groups and tens of thousands of
Right.
executives.
Right.
And that is actually how you and I first met each other,
Right. Right.
was
Right.
at one of these executive meetings.
Yep.
But we did talk on the phone beforehand because I did a
Right.
little bit of research of the members that were in there.
Yep.
And that in itself
Right.
is an
Right.
amazing story too.
Yeah. And so prior to really, I know you had been looking for a clinic like ours to really partner with that you believed in and you
Yes.
trusted. You really had a two-pronged approach to your wellness journey for the people that were looking to make a change, right? And we're going to talk about all those two, but we're also going to talk about the third. But the two-pronged approach you had before was simply nutrition, right? Your diet, and then exercise, right? And getting into an
Yes.
exercise regimen. And we know that those two things are probably accomplished to 80% of what people can achieve based on their genetics and that sort of thing, right? Everyone has some limits on, how much muscle you're going to be able to pack on or what your body composition is going to look like. But diet and nutrition will make up 80% of that, right? Some of it's genetic. Today, we're
Sure.
also going to talk about the third prong at the very end, and that is the medical component. What a company like Elite Health Online can do for you. And we're going to dig into specifically kind of your regimen, what you've seen, and how you feel like that fits into this three-pronged approach. Because there are people out there who just simply say, "Well, I'll just diet. I'll just follow a great diet. I'll try to eat healthier." We know that doesn't work. As a matter of fact, there's been studies recently that show that the single greatest thing you can do for longevity is exercise. That even if you take two people that live the same lifestyle, whether their habits are smoking, drinking, not eating great, the people that exercise will live longer, period, end of story, and have a more functional life. But the diet is huge too. You'll have people that just simply eat a great diet, don't exercise that much, and they get great results. But when you put all three together is where you really start to excel. And that's where I think, elite targets is we're looking for those people that want to be on,
Right.
they want to be their very best version of themselves. Our mission is to improve lives. And I think everyone's looking to do that. So let's dig in and let's start with nutrition. I know you talked about the enemy is, sugar, right? Starchy carbs are a big part of what we've been told. It's what we ate as a kid, and it's what we're fed in the grocery stores. Talk about, if you will, for just a couple of minutes about what you do when you go into these executive sessions and kind of what you want them to leave with and understand.
Right. As a matter of fact, the number one thing I want to make sure every single executives, and many times I go and speak to the entire company. So
Right.
whoever is listening, everybody, My goal for them is to walk away with a clear understanding of the science of food on the human body. As a matter of fact, just because it tastes good does not mean basically anything, especially because most of the time what makes it taste good is the sugar and the chemicals. So we
Mhm.
have to be very aware of that. We have to retrain the taste buds to appreciate food the way it was originally created to be enjoyed, and
Mhm.
also understand the benefits of good nutrition. So in other words, sugar, in and of itself, sugar has 77 side effects, which a lot of people don't realize. They think it's only one side effect, and that's weight gain. No, it's more than that. As a matter of fact, I'll just give you quickly headline news. Number one, sugar is a cancer feeder. Sugar is the main cancer feeder. As a matter of fact, MD Anderson in Texas says that sugar is the main cancer feeder, and they say this: by cutting off sugar, you cut off the main food supply to the
Mhm.
cancer cell. So
Well,
if
that
there's
goes
people
along. Not to
listening
cut
right
you
now,
off, but
yeah,
if you listen to Dom D'Agostino and other people like that, there are people who
right,
have
right.
been cured from their cancer just by simply starving it by going on a true ketogenic diet, and
I
it
totally
works
agree with
along with
that.
chemo.
Yes,
So it's not only can it be preventative, they're actually treating cancers with ketogenic
right.
diets to starve the cancer out. But anyway, keep going. I just think it's important to know that's not.
Absolutely.
It's never too late.
Yeah. It's never too. I've helped people actually go into complete remission even though they were in hospice. The final straw for them was,
Hmm.
okay, I will listen to you. And I was
Hmm.
thinking, if you only listened to me before, you wouldn't even come close to the stage 4 abdominal cancer, etc. Okay, so get this. For everybody that's listening, sugar is an inflammatory. In other words, if all the achy joints, knees, elbows, neck, hips, whatever is in the pain that you have, sometimes we just attribute it to bad weather or to aging. But I promise you this: yes, the arthritis might be real, or the scar tissue in your joints might be real, the lack of recovery from your ligaments. However, the sugar causes extreme inflammation. So cut out sugar and pay attention to how your joints feel. And many times you don't realize how good they feel until you eat sugar
Right.
again. And all of a sudden you realize how sore and achy you
Right.
really feel, which is quality of life issue. I mean,
Right.
there are so many other issues, including it destroys your immune system. And
Right.
I never heard a single person on the news, the expert talking heads, ever once say during COVID, they never once said eliminate sugar and you will increase and help to increase your immune system. And
Right.
just for the record, dietary fat, which they tell us to limit or eliminate, get rid of,
It's
use
crucial.
sparingly, is extremely helpful in many areas, including joint health. Your brain needs
Right.
dietary fat, avocados, nuts, seeds, olives, olive
Right.
oils,
Right.
just all sorts of different fats,
Right.
even whole beef, real beef that has fat in it, all of that, eggs with the yolk, we need that to thrive both mentally and physically.
Right.
And I know that this is right in your ballpark. This is something that everybody needs to know. Dietary fat is the precursor for hormone production. What does that mean? If somebody, anybody in your audience right now, keeps a low fat diet, their ability to produce hormones becomes greatly hindered. So, what I'm saying is this: you keep a low fat diet, you will age quickly,
Hmm.
quicker than you were supposed to,
Yep.
prematurely. However, if you keep a high fat diet, your hormones from testosterone to
Right.
melatonin, which helps you sleep, will be produced at a much higher level. And
No,
what's
not to
that
mention
worth?
though that most people eat high fat and high sugar, which is the combination that's the worst. Now that's what's the disaster. Think ice
Completely.
cream, all the great things
Right.
that most people like and that I like and enjoy it with, extreme caution and sparingly, but it's the sugar and the fat together is the real kryptonite for putting on fat. But what you talked about there with the talking heads, and what the FDA will tell you, and other industry, quote unquote, industry experts too, is that hormones are the enemy. You don't need hormones. We're going to talk about that in the
Right.
back half of the podcast today. So excellent. So what the audience doesn't know is that, Dean, you and I have become really good friends, and we are actually now partnering together to bring something called Fit to Win uh,
Right.
to the community, to not only the active elite health online patients, but also anyone else who wants to get daily reminders and daily tips on diet and exercise from Dean. And so this is something that we'll be launching in the late fall. It'll be called Fit to Win. And there'll be a way for you to sign up and get information from Dean on a daily basis, little nuggets, little tips around diet, exercise that you can take and start to make life change. So you're going to get to have what Dean gets paid big dollars to go around and speak to executives and people paying big money. You're going to get this all for one low price every single month and be able to continue to get these tips and go on this journey. So Dean, let's transition a little bit. We've talked about diet. We know how important it is. Sugar is big, but the audience is going to have to wait to go into the in-depth components of what you eat. And,
Right.
you try to eat as close to the source as possible with no additives. And, you eat a full range of different foods. And I know you take people through, if you would, maybe it'd be good here to talk about for a second, just the elimination component. Don't go all the way in, but I know
Yeah.
you start with going all the way back to some basics. Kind of take them through what does the elimination look like, and then how we build back something that's more reasonable.
Excellent. And then if you want to drill down into any of the points, feel free to just stop and we'll do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, no,
Okay,
yeah.
folks, here's what I like to tell people so that they have the right mindset and a visual image of what we're even talking about. If we were on Clay York's 120-foot yacht, which a lot of people don't know he has, but it's beautiful. But anyways, so we're on his yacht and we're in the middle of a shark-infested water. Well, guess what? We're fine. We're safe. However, just then the boat develops a hole in it. And all of a sudden, all this water comes flooding in. We've got two choices. We could bail the water with all those cups or buckets, or we can patch the hole, stop the damage. So what most people do is, as far as the comparison for their diet, they start to bail the water, meaning they'll start to eat a little bit more veggies. They'll start to do things a little. What I say is this: the number one thing we need to do is patch the hole. Stop the damage from taking place. So what I introduce is the elimination diet. We stop the damage by eliminating 4 groups. Let me give you those groups right now. The first one is sugar. We've already talked about it, and I can go through a lot of details, but let me just say this: sugar, sweets, and anything from colas to candies to pastries, but it's only for 21 days. 21-day elimination diet. Eliminate sugar. The second item or category is grain, wheat, and oats, which
Hmm.
everybody says is healthy. Trust me. Eliminate all the bread, all the pasta. I know I'm Italian. That is officially hate speech. I get it. However, eliminate all of it. And then the third thing is milk or all cow products,
Hmm.
including, okay, ready for this? Soy milk and soy products, soy protein. Get rid of it, throw it away. And I know it's a 21-day elimination diet. However, if you were to eliminate milk and soy or dairy and soy permanently, you will do yourself a favor. So,
Yeah.
and if anybody out there is a dairy farmer, I apologize. But as the Godfather said in Godfather 2, when it came to narcotics, he said, sell it, don't use it. So what
Hmm.
I'm saying is if you're a dairy farmer, sell it, don't use it. So
Yep.
what I mean is this: we need to eliminate. Now, the fourth item is nuts. And then the only reason we have that in the elimination diet is to find out if you personally are allergic or have a food sensitivity to nuts. But for the most part, you will know right away if that's you. If you're not allergic to nuts, if you're not sensitive, then make it only 3 categories: sugar, dairy and soy, and wheat, grain, and oats.
Hmm.
Those 3 are the categories that we got to get rid of. Now, somebody out there might be saying, that's impossible. That's all I eat. You just eliminated everything. Well, folks, that is a snapshot of where you are today, because let me go ahead and just say something very bold. Your, if that was you who said that, is extremely distorted. In other words, you don't eat a lot of clean and real food. And again, I don't want to point fingers because that's exactly who I was. So what I'm saying is this: about 20 years ago, I went on this elimination diet. And I decided to do it not for 21 days, but for a full year. And then when I was finished, my wife actually asked me, are you going to go back to the way you were eating? And I said, why would I do that when it was causing all this inflammation, all this obesity. It was causing all these other problems.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I go back to? So, folks, and no exaggeration, I have not had bread or pasta or anything else like that in almost 20 years. And I feel better than I have felt possibly than I can remember when I was in my teens, 20s, and 30s. And folks, I am going to be 60 years old. I was born in 1964. I felt old, I looked old, and I acted old when I was in my 30s. Now I'm going on 60, and I've never felt better. My inflammation is gone. I am actually now a client of Elite Health Online as well. And now I'm feeling even better than I was even a year ago. And I felt pretty amazing then too. So, what I'm saying is eliminate the items that are creating the problem.
Excellent. Great. I knew that's perfect. That's exactly where I wanted to go. Let's transition now to the exercise. Obviously, the folks have seen your picture of where you transitioned from and what you went to. So clearly, you're hitting the gym. Most of our clients do already start. They're already starting some sort of exercise program. But we run in now that we've started to really transition at Elite Health into. I mean, 50% of our business now is weight loss. And a lot of folks simply don't have exercise in their current regimen. They've tried a lot of different diets. They've tried to lose weight. They've even done some elimination things. They're coming to us, and there is a place for medication. We're going to get to those medications here at the end. Hormone balancing, all of that will make everything that Dean talks about work synergistically and work faster. You can lose weight if your hormones are not right, but it's not going to happen as fast, and your body composition, quite frankly, isn't going to be there. But the second component to this three-pronged approach, diet, nutrition, then exercise, and then the medications. The second one here we need to talk about is exercise. So, Dean, you go around the country again and you talk to people about the importance of exercise. So, if you would, in 3 to 5 minutes, how to give us the background on why is exercise so important, specifically weight training. A lot of people think, well, if I lift weights, I'm going to look like Dean, and I don't want to look like Dean, especially women, and that's just not the case. But why exercise and why weight training specifically, and then go into what you're asking people to do, because I think as I listen to you talk, you're not asking people to train like you do necessarily. You're asking them to do something.
No, not really.
Right,
Right.
right. You and I, the gym time is a way to relieve stress. It's endorphin release. It's fun. It's social. But for some people, they just say, I hate it. And we're not even asking you as you go on this journey to love the gym or to spend hours. So walk us through that a little bit and what how you introduce people to this thing that they, quite frankly, today hate.
Right. Well, I believe that is a question that every single person listening has to either struggle with or address in some way. The reason is, one, if somebody's at the gym for multiple hours, odds are they're doing something wrong. And I would not recommend whatever it is that you're doing. Number two, everybody needs to understand this. I included Clay. It has to do with you as well. Everybody at the age of about 30 years old begins to lose muscle. Everybody begins to atrophy after the age of 30. And so, in other words, even today, everybody is losing a half a pound of muscle every year just because we're alive after the age of 30. So all I'm asking people to do is understand, have the mindset to know that weight-resistant exercises is the only thing that we can do to build muscle. Now, cardio doesn't build muscle. It could actually dissolve muscle. So we have to be very aware of that. I'm not anti-cardio. Please understand. I actually do it. I teach it. But we need to know that. When I was entering bodybuilding competitions, I was instructed by about 5 top bodybuilders in the country. They said, watch, don't do too much cardio. You're going to burn up all your hard-earned muscle. So we need to know that, number one. Number two, I believe that we have to do everything we can to strengthen the body, to become as strong as possible, but also to prevent the muscle loss by simply building back what we're losing. So we could just say hypothetically you break even. Every year you build about a half a pound of muscle.
Yep.
because we're losing a half a pound of muscle.
Right.
So you might think, well, what's the sense of that? Because I'm just breaking even. Well, year after year, you keep building back the muscle you're losing.
Right.
You are freezing time. In
Right.
other words, you'll stay young longer, vibrant.
Right.
The aging adult always has a fear of dependency. And with that lady who said on the TV commercial, "Help, I've fallen, I can't get up,"
Right.
it's because she was too weak to pick her own body weight off the floor.
But you also get, Dean, not to interrupt you, but you get people who lose weight and then they become what I call skinny fat. They're
Right.
not necessarily overweight, but they have no body composition, no bone density, and they just become a smaller version of that baby you talked about, when you were
Yeah.
describing yourself in this image of how you look like your son. You're a grown man and look like your son. It's because there's no weight training. And I think people also misunderstand that when you weight, and please correct me if I'm incorrect about this, but my understanding has always been weight training, the benefits occur even after the exercise has ended. So we do need to get into a calorie deficit to actually lose body fat, right?
Yeah.
Exercise helps us burn more calories, whether it's walking in the neighborhood or lifting weights. The advantage, though, that I understand to weightlifting, the way I've always been taught, is that many hours after the exercise is over, my body is still burning more calories to recuperate, repair the muscle. In addition to that, every time I gain a half a pound of muscle or more muscle, a pound over the next couple of years, I burn more calories just sitting here than the person sitting next to me who does not have the same muscle mass.
100% correct. As a matter of fact, I have a phrase that some people call, it's like one of those phrases that they write down and they look at it every day. It's this: muscle is a fat furnace. Muscle's a fat furnace. So not only do we build muscle to develop strength and to change our body composition, because
Right.
let's face it, it's youthful looking, but it's more than that. It's you're vibrant, you're more alive, you more capability, quality of life is higher. However, it is almost impossible to burn the level of body fat that we need if we don't have the muscle. Think of it like a teenager. When they go through puberty, they start burning everything. They look super lean. Well, what happened? Well, their muscle is, especially a young man, their muscle is developing and they're growing. Well, we begin to lose that whole entire concept after the age of 22. Then by 30, 31, it just collapses out from underneath us. And we go through the opposite of puberty. We start to gain body fat. We begin to lose muscle. And we need to do everything we can to build back all of that youthful muscle to keep us going. Because the truth is, I hope I never have to retire. I hope I never want to retire. I will be active, vibrant my entire life. And I'm planning on living past 100. And maybe longer, but there is no disease in my body, and I've done everything I can to prevent it, which is something we could all do. Muscle is a major component to that.
Yeah, definitely. And it comes back also why at that certain age, my son right now is a teenager. I wish he would eat better. He's 18. He's shredded. He looks amazing. Walks through the kitchen with his shirt off, and I'm like, put your shirt back on. But you're right. He doesn't even eat that well, right? And he has all the right hormones on board, which we're going to get to next. And he works out like crazy. So he lifts. So he's, there again at that 30 age, his hormones are going to decline. He's going to slow down in life as far as all the exercise. And that's when the body starts to really fall apart. So great.
Exactly.
The folks are going to have to, for the full exercise, regimen, they're going to have to wait till Fit to Win to get into all of Dean's tricks and tips and how to do multiple body movements to get the most efficient workout possible. Because again, this is not to spend out. We're not saying spend hours there. We're talking about minutes per day, all right? Less than an hour. Just give us an example, Dean, so people can kind of get an idea. How many hours a week do you spend exercising? What does a daily exercise program look like for you? Just time-wise.
Okay. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I walk into the gym, I look at the clock. I'm pretty militant when it comes to my time. I look at the clock and I know exactly what time I'm walking out. In other words, my workout schedule will go for about 45 minutes. Well, I know people who said that they've been in the gym for 2 hours, et cetera, and it's just 45 minutes, maybe. If it's a huge leg day or back day, I might go a little longer, but for the most part, 45 minutes. So here's the key that every exerciser It's this. Number one, to build as much muscle and to prevent injury. It's this: heavy and slow. Those are the two components that we all need. So, in other words, whatever is heavy for you personally, not heavy for anybody else, just you.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, challenging, where you go to failure with the weights
Mm-hmm.
between 8 and 12 reps. That's the window of results. And then it's heavy and slow, which means there's a concept, a physiology concept called time
Under
under
tension.
tension.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could do 8 to 12 reps as slow as you possibly can, especially on the negative, and we'll go over all these details with the Fit to Win program,
Mm-hmm.
you are putting yourself in a position of extreme muscle development. While your average person does half-second reps, they're just up and down, and they stop at the magic number because that's the number they always stop at,
Mm-hmm.
which is 10. And we're going to go over all that. But the thing is this: they're not exercising efficiently. They're giving their muscles a ride. They're not working them. They're not challenging them, evoking an adaptation. So, what another thing I like to do is superset or tri-set. In other words, I
Right.
will line up 2, 3, or even 4 exercises. I will
Mm-hmm.
go heavy and slow. Make the Rocky face. It's you're grimacing, you're growling, you're
Right.
giving it 100%. And if somebody's looking, give them something to see. I mean, just give it all you
Mm-hmm.
got. Fight to failure. And then as soon as you're done, take a breath, grab the weights, and do number 2. When you're done with the second set, shake it off, grab the weights, the straight bar,
Right.
the plate, whatever it is you're doing, and then you do the next one.
Right.
And you go slow and controlled. And trust me, that in and of itself is cardiovascular
That's what I
in
was about to
nature.
say. When you do, I
Yep.
think when a lot of people who don't know what a superset is, a lot of our audience, like I said, a lot of the Elite Health Online patients are very into working out. They could teach us a
Right,
thing or
yes,
two.
there.
But those that don't, superset just means you might do a chest exercise, move to a bicep, then move to a shoulder. You're hitting the same body part numerous times and dropping the weight, things like that. But it's getting the workout done really quickly. You're not standing around on your phone at the gym, looking at your phone between sets, wasting time. You're in and out. And it's a matter of fact
Yep.
that to failure, it's so funny. My daughter works out at Planet Fitness, and they have a counter now, so people don't even have to count their reps. They're looking for that magic number. I'm going to sit here. I'm going to do it. When it gets to 15, I'm going to stop. So you don't even have to count, but that trains people to do exactly what you're saying is the very opposite. If we don't go to that point of
Right.
where we're really straining the last few to where I can't do it anymore, you don't stop at a number. You stop when you're done. And that's the failure component you're teaching. That's is really important in
Yeah.
the weight training. So,
Here's
all right.
one key. One last
No, go
key
ahead.
is the last rep of the set is the most important. The
Sure.
last rep. Work
Right.
it, fight for that last rep, give it 110%. And when you go to failure with the lift and you're making your Rocky face and you're lifting and you're crawling and all of a sudden it stopped, you're not going anymore. Now fight the negative. Just keep, so it's going so slow that you
Mm-hmm.
don't even see. In other words, remember that when you work out next, your last rep of each set is the most important of all
Right.
the 8, 9, 10 reps that you took to get to the last rep.
Excellent. So let's move to the final component, and this is the medication, the therapies that are offered at Elite Health Online through our healthcare providers. Dean, this wasn't part of your regimen always, because a lot of our therapies are things that people start as their hormones decline and as they age. And quite frankly, I'll be honest with you, at Elite Health Online, when we're doing our preliminary interviews with patients to see if they're prospective patients, we ask, do you follow a reasonable diet and do you exercise? And I'll be quite honest with you, if you don't answer those two questions as yes, you're most likely not going to jump into these therapies. That's not always the case. There are people that come to us for just anti-aging, some of the things we're going to talk about in future podcasts around rapamycin or NAD or NMN.
Right, right.
But if they're looking truly for peak performance, to be the best version of themselves, they're already doing some of these things correct. And so when you came along and you discovered Elite Health Online, I know you had been looking for a clinic that you could, really trust did things the correct way, put your health and your longevity first and foremost, and then had a comprehensive and progressive approach to what we do. So I know you're on a number of our therapies. Specifically, I know you do testosterone now that you're close to 60
Right.
here, and you've seen an even an improvement from as good as you were with that. I know you're doing a few other things. So kind of walk the audience through currently what kind of Dean is doing from a standpoint. We know how you eat, and we're going to get into that more in Fit
Right.
to Win. But get into your a little bit of what you discovered through Elite and how it's changed you even further now that you're an Elite patient.
Exactly. And I was looking for the best company that's telehealth that I could recommend all over the country because my executives were asking me almost every time I spoke, what do you think about hormone therapy? And so this is about 5 or 6 years ago. So they forced me to do the
Mm-hmm.
research and I went on a journey. And it was by coincidence, if you would call it that, that I discovered Elite Health Online and then discovered that I was speaking to your executive group probably within the next 6 weeks later, and it was a perfect alignment and timing. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot. I mean, it was amazing to me how we connected.
Mm-hmm.
All that to say, you or Elite Health Online met every one of the parameters that I was looking for to recommend to people all over the country, and I had the assurance that they were going to be taken care of. So I have the high level of confidence for not only them, but now for myself. And my wife is also part of the program. She just jumped on board. And one of the things she started saying right away was, it's good to be young again.
Mm-hmm.
And now I use that in all my seminars because it's true. We say that all the time. So what happened was is this. After the age of 30, our hormones, men and women, our hormones begin to crash. I knew mine was. I was finally in my 40s discovering how to work out scientifically, strategically. I was understanding nutrition. And I began to think if I only was able to implement this when I was younger, I could have been just a top athlete, whether it be in bodybuilding or who knows what. But I knew that I had the potential back then. But now here I am in my 40s, my 50s, and now I'm heading into my 60s. And I knew my hormones were collapsing. And I was doing everything right physiologically, exercise, and nutrition. So I immediately, through talking to you, Clay, we were talking about what's good for the executives, and you even said, have you ever had your testosterone checked? And I was saying, well, actually, I was hoping we can go there too. So I
Mm-hmm.
did. And one of the things that I found was, this is important, for my age group, my
Mm-hmm.
age category, I was in a moderate to low, but still in the healthy range. Folks, I don't want to be in a moderately low healthy range for a 60-year-old. Do you know how low that is compared to a 30-year-old? I want to be in a healthy range of what I was at when I was, say, 30 or
Mm-hmm.
35 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so through the help of Elite Health Online, I was able to get back to where I was. So I am taking testosterone, and immediately within weeks, I started noticing my recovery when I exercise was different. I started noticing my strength was going up. What I used to struggle with recently,
Right.
I'm now thinking I'm going to go up in weight. I'm going to
Right.
get back to what I used to do.
We
And
refer
now I'm at
to it as
100.
we refer to it as hormone optimization, right?
I love
We
that
want you to
phrase.
be at
Yes.
we want you to be at the most optimal level that you can be at. Like you said,
Right.
where you were when you were at your best. You know,
Exactly.
where is disease generally not a problem? And this is a large brushstroke, but people 18 to 30, they hardly go to the doctor, right? There's hardly disease
Yep.
state. Their hormones are optimal. We want our patients to be back into that optimal range. And I can't tell you how many patients come to us and they say, my doctor's been telling me I'm perfectly normal. And we'll hear
Mm.
females, and I'm like, your levels are 10. You have five. You have a level 5 testosterone. It's crazy. Or men who are in their 300s or 400s. Doctor said I'm perfectly normal. Normal for what? For an 80-year
Well,
old
think
man?
of all the
No.
people in the United States. They're comparing you to everybody else, and then they take the median range of
Right.
all these unhealthy people, and then they tell you that you're in the average or the healthy
Right.
range of all these unhealthy people. Folks, I'm not satisfied with mediocrity. I
No.
want the best in everything,
Right.
but what more than quality of life and the,
Right.
the enjoyment of life?
But
And
this
and
flies in the
even down to,
face. Hey, this flies in the
yeah,
face of traditional medicine. I don't want to treat you, and
Exactly.
I don't want to treat you unless you're not sick. I'm not treating you. Just
Right.
embrace it, engage it. It is what it is. You're not sick. I don't want to deal with it. But it's 2023, right? Almost
Yeah.
2024 now coming up. This is where medicine was supposed to go, to a place of optimization and longevity, not just treating disease, but preventing disease. And just think,
Right.
by everything you just talked about, with the therapy that you're on now, you are further pushing off disease, and you are remaining that's, here at 60. I mean, just look at you, you know, think you are your biological age. When I look at you, and I'm sure how you feel, I would say is 30 years younger, at least, maybe more than your
Hmm.
actual age.
I actually feel that way too. And people
Right.
are always shocked when I share with them, especially when I'm at the gym and, I got my pump going and I share with somebody who's literally 25, 30 years younger when they thought I was their age. And I said, yeah, bro, I'm going on 60. It looked like I just slapped them. They're like,
Right.
wait, what? Say that
Right.
again. But Clay, I'm gonna say a phrase, and I want to get your feedback on it. Okay, I say this at my seminars. Sick people are profitable. What's your thoughts with that? And based on what you just said,
100% today. I mean, I
yeah,
actually worked in hospitals for the first half of my career. And sad to say, when we didn't have patient load was down, we looked around and we're like, we need some more people to fill these beds, or we're going to have to send
thank
nurses
you.
homes. It is about profit. And many of the traditional, I mean, you got to
Yeah,
think, they spend millions of dollars developing research into drugs to treat disease. Do you think that they want disease to go away? I mean, semaglutide is crushing diabetes and getting people off of their insulin. If we solve the obesity epidemic in America through semaglutide and other weight loss therapies, what will this do to the diabetes market and all the drugs and everything associated with that? So again, many times, again, I'm not here to speak to the government, but and negatives, but a lot of times you got to look at what is the real motive behind, the suggestions that are being made. You know what I'm saying? If you're being forced to do
exactly.
something or asked to do something down that road, you better double check why you're being asked to do that. And if it's being
My
fought, why
goal
is it being
is
fought?
right. And my goal is like your goal. I want to be a very bad customer to the health industry. In
Yes.
other words, stay healthy so that I don't have to get caught in the web. Because once you go down that road, it could cost you $100,000 and you still haven't gotten any assistance or gotten any better
Well,
with your health
yeah,
issue.
another way to say that is you're going to pay for your health now, or you're going to pay for it later.
Exactly.
And I have people that say, I don't know if I can afford hormone therapy, although it's very affordable. Or I don't know if I can afford to lose this 50 pounds and over the next 16 to 18 weeks and take this medication. And it does cost more to eat healthy a lot of times. I will say that, it is very cheap to roll through McDonald's, right? But no, you're going to pay for it today, or you're going to pay for it later, in both time and money. To buy quality food, to have quality medication is going to cost something.
Right.
But you will spend it later when you're in doctor's offices, in hospitals, and you're paying for sick care. So,
Well, people tell me that all the time when during the seminars they say, "But isn't eating healthy expensive?" And my response is always, "It's nowhere near as expensive as dialysis."
well, yeah, and you'll go put premium gas in your Lexus or your Mercedes, but in your body, you'll pull through McDonald's. So, I got a lot to say about that. But so, Dean, you've had a great experience with Elite. I know you've referred a lot of executives to us, and they've had great experiences. So, I just want to remind our audience that at Elite Health Online, we do put you first. We are the most convenient, comprehensive, and progressive clinic that you'll find anywhere. Everything is done via telehealth, and everything ships directly to your door. We do break things out into monthly payment plans for you to make things very affordable, so that you don't have to come up with a lump sum there for your hormone optimization or your weight loss. Dean, any closing statements before I kind of close us out today, that you want to say about either Fit to Win or your experience with the lead, or just any parting words with the audience?
Well, when it comes to Fit to Win, I want everybody to look into that when we launch it. It is going to have so much content. And literally, I will be your wellness coach. Every day, we're going to walk you through. You're going to end up with what would be equivalent of a masterclass. By the end of the year, you will have better understanding of your health, your wellness, what you need to do, and you're going to have an accountability partner in me where we're going to do this together. I'm going to just pour into each person what they need to know, what they need to do, how to exercise, the 7 principles of effective exercise. And it is beyond a privilege to then join forces with Elite Health Online, where myself and everybody there, where we then launch the Fit to Win under the Elite Health Online umbrella, and everything is going to be accessible. In other words, even people who ask, they said, well, how much is this going to cost, when they hear how much they're going to get? And when I tell them, they say, is that a day? I said, no, that's per month. And they're blown away. They are shocked that it's so inexpensive. But the
Right.
goal is we want to make it available for everybody. We don't want to make it so exclusive. And no, it's not executive pricing. It is like lower than most people ever imagine. And we're going to go over all that, so don't worry. Now,
Basically, you can skip you could skip a coffee this week and you'd afford to pay for it. That's
it's
the
not
bottom
even
line.
skip a coffee a day. It's skip a coffee in a week.
Yeah.
And you get the whole thing. It's like, it's amazing. It's going to be it's shockingly inexpensive. Now, the next thing is, I just challenge every last one of you who are listening to look into become curious, and then ultimately become a client of the Elite Health Online. The reason is, I believe you owe it to yourself to find out what you used to feel like when you were younger and didn't even realize how good you felt. We forget because of the slow fade. I feel so alive. Like, literally, I feel that spark, that mitochondria is now sparking again inside. When I go to the gym, I look at the heavy weights and I literally say, today, you're going down, and I'm going to win this war. It's going to be a battle between me and gravity, and the weights are just going to go along for the ride. And I have a feeling that is different than I used to have just even a year ago, of just that I'm getting old and things hurt. Well, things don't even hurt anymore. No exaggeration. It literally feels different. It feels good. So in other words, you owe it to yourself to at least look into and then talking to somebody at Elite Health Online, because you will be impressed. I was won over by the professionalism, the kindness, and the knowledge is much, much better than you're going to find anywhere else.
Well, Dean, let me tell the folks real quick how to at least get more information, and then we'll close out. If you are interested in getting more information about Elite Health Online, I would ask you to visit our website, elitehealthonline.com. There you'll see a button at the top. It's called Get Started. That is not booking an appointment and paying anything. That is simply booking a call with one of our specialists to simply have a 15-minute phone call to ask more questions. They'll do a quick interview to understand where you are today in this journey, what your current body composition looks like, how you feel, and then we'll tell you about what we can do for you. And at that time, if you do decide to become a patient, we'll help you get an appointment booked, have a telehealth appointment with our provider, and then get medication sent to your door. But take an opportunity to at least book that 15-minute appointment by going to our website and clicking on Get Started. And there you can have a call with one of our experts who will help you go down this journey. Dean, thank you for being with us today. Really appreciate it. Lots of great information, and we're looking forward to continued partnerships and working together. Folks, again, thanks for being with us today. Again, we'd invite you to visit our website. This is a journey. You will not learn everything on this podcast today, and you certainly won't learn everything in your first consultation. But if you'll join the journey with us on our Fit to Win program that'll be launching later this fall, and if you'll come to Elite Health Online and check it out and see what we can do in a way to get your hormones optimized, you will begin to go on a journey. And over the next, 6, 12 months, 18, 24 months, as you engage with us, you're going to learn more and more about the therapies that are available and what they can do for you to optimize physically and mentally, as well as just anti-aging, putting off the aging disease as far as possible. We're not going to live forever, but we might as well enjoy all of the years that we have. So thank you for being with us today, and we look forward to serving you at Elite Health Online.